Hello, this is Kyle Finley, Nebraska State Director for MUFON. This here video is going to be on Audacity, how to look at the frequencies and use the frequency spectrum analyzer. You get a lot of questions about this for EVPs in the paranormal field, or weird noises in the UFO field. And I thought I'd do a little tutorial on how exactly to look at these things real quick using Audacity, which is completely free, great program. You can go download it, pretty easy to use, but some people just don't know about this little feature that it has. So we're gonna hop in and look at a file that was submitted to me, and they're kind of curious about what's going on in it, and I'm just gonna do some basic stuff to show how to use Audacity and what we can find in the sound clip. Alright, so the first thing we're gonna do, open up the file, and it opens a new window, and then we're going to want to play through it just to listen to what it is. Alright, after we listen to it, we can kind of tell some of the areas. So obviously the dog is barking, we can see that audio pretty well. But there also seems to be something going on in this beginning section that's not really real loud, but it sounds like something in the background. Right now we're looking at I think it's like the decibel levels. If we expand this out, kind of see here is really loud and here it's less, but if you kind of keep that in mind for when we look at the next sections. So I'm going to highlight just the dog part to keep track of it. But if you go over here, there's this little menu right next to this X button, but you want to click this, it should be a down arrow. It gives you a whole bunch of different things to look at. The one I was going to do is the Spectrogram View, which this doesn't show the decibels. This shows more of the range of the audio that it's picking up. So here we just have a linear scale, which some people might like, but you can also change this. If you go to this scale here and right click it, you can go to the logarithmic form, and that kind of makes it go up in different increments. But so that's a simple way to look at the spectrum view on Audacity. And if you're not really sure what's going on, you can also click on the Multiview, which shows the spectrum and the waveform graph, and you can expand that out. So there you can kind of see, you have a lot of sound here, and you can see most of that's between, well, you can highlight it here. So by this, I do left click and drag, and you can kind of see oh, well, that's between, if you double click, it'll take it over. So that's between, 250 maybe up to about 800 or something is where the loudest part is. But then this lines up you know, with like the loudest part. But then over here you can see like these quiet parts. They're between, I'll do the thing again. So that's again, left click, click and drag, and then you can double click it and it'll select like the whole area here. So that's like kind of between 80 and maybe 250 there. It's kind of below where the dog's main loudness is barking at. One thing I want to point out is that if you ever see like some repeating patterns, something like this top part, which is actually outside of like the human hearing area, along here, you see it's like kind of repeating in like a pattern like formation. It just keeps coming back there, like repeating over and over again. That's usually like electronic interference from something. Same for like these ones here. This here, these two areas. If I can highlight this, that's probably something electronic. You know, it sounds like a buzzy noise. I don't know if it's like from a phone or an alarm clock or like a doorbell or something, but that's what it kind of sounds like. And if we play it, see, it doesn't have like a loud, you know, it's not very loud decibel wise, but like kind of crosses all the spectrums too. So but these are two very similar signals, so they're probably artificial. Really, I haven't looked at too much of the background, so I'm not sure what any of this could be, but I'm guessing it's like a buzzer or something. So after you identify some of the easier aspects of the sound clip, you probably want to identify, you know, what exactly you want to look at. I'm guessing it's this section at the beginning here. And you want to kind of stop it before you get to these loud parts where you have like the dog barking and whatnot. I mean, most people who do ghost investigations or EVP clips, they already know this kind of stuff. But this kind of enters like the mess around phase is what I would call it. And that's where you just take a clip like this and you start doing different effects to see what you can pull out of it. So at the very top you have an effect bar and you have a whole bunch of different things you can do to change it. You know, the high pass, low pass filters, which are down here. But like the first thing is to maybe amplify it to see what exactly we can pull out of there just by amplifying it. And one thing is if you don't get those large peaks in here and you just select this low area, the amplify will automatically adjust to be about as loud as it can get without clipping. So if you just hit amplify, I didn't type any number in, this is the default number, and it'll go as high as it can without clipping. But you can also add the clipping thing and then you can go higher or something like that, and set that. But just, I think the default's usually pretty good. So now we have a very loud section. You see how that's like way louder than anything we had before. And also on the spectrogram, everything's been amplified as well. So this might be kind of loud. You never really know until you like hop into there and start listening, but we'll give it a listen. I'm not really sure what it is, but looking at the spectrogram thing, if we're gonna try to like start picking out what it might be, you'd want to see like sounds. What if I can click and drag? Sounds that would be somewhat in this area where it's, you know, kind of amplified, or it's kind of brighter than the rest of it. So we'd want to see, you know, now I can't do it on just this. So something maybe between 50 and about 200 frequency wise would be like, at least in these sections, it seems like there's kind of a main blunt for a few signals, but then there's also some in these other sections that could be something else. So if we're looking for what exactly is causing this, we'd want to see what can make things within these frequencies, what can make sounds within these frequencies. Alright, just to put this in perspective, I'm going to load in actually the audio I'm using to record this video. And I'll play this real quick just so you'll know what it is. So now we have a very loud section. You see how that's like way louder than anything we had before. So anyways, it's just me talking, and then I play the audio again. But I recorded it, and then I re-imported that into Audacity. So now we can look at the spectrograph on here. And here we can kind of see the differences. Again, you might want to shift this to the logarithmic view. And so if we're looking at my voice, which was this first section, you can see my voice is kind of between the, might be 80 up to about 600 range, this kind of yellow part. So that's where my voice would fit on the human spectrum. So like if there's somebody in the area, you can kind of see what their voice range is, and then you can kind of map it out on here. But then we can look at the other stuff too. So the unknown section would be this here block here that we're looking at. And you can see that some of that's clearly higher than my voice. So if you want to look at, maybe there's human voice contamination in there, the next step would be to filter out anything below, the highest of the human voice section, and you can look at what this sounds like. If there's no humans in the area and you don't think a human voice made it or something, maybe you want to look at these lower sections. So then you could like filter out the higher frequencies, and that'll be what we look at next. One other thing to point out here is that in this one here we have like a stereo recording, which means it records like left and right sound at the same time for like headsets. So that's why you'll see two channels in this audio. This is because I'm actually recording this. And if you did like multi-view, it looks really complicated, because then you got, the left, you got the how loud it is with the decibels, but also how loud it is on the spectrum. And then you have one's for the left, and then you got another one for the right. So that's what this looks like. When I switch this back to waveform. Okay, then there's a little complicated. You got to switch off the multi-view, and then you can switch it back to like waveform or something like that. But that's why this one looks a little bit different from this one, because this one here is just a mono recording where you don't have a difference between left and right sound levels. So I thought I'd point that out real quick. Alright, so now we're back looking at this is the audio clip that I recorded. So there's my voice, here's the unknown stuff that we're looking at, and let's just say you want to like start filtering this, maybe to look at the high pitch stuff. So under effects, you have a lot of different things we can do in here to look at different things, but one of the easier ones is the high pass filter down here. Now this will focus out, usually it's set to like 6 or something like that. This will basically filter out anything below 1,000 hertz in this clip. And then the roll-off, this is basically like how powerful that effect is. So if it's, I think it normally starts about 6. So if we do this, it'll do kind of a light fade off on all the lower frequencies below 1,000. And one of the things in Audacity that you'll probably be doing often is undo. So like we can see these are the effects. That's what it looks like after we do the effect. But you can edit undo and always go back to your original sound clip. So yeah, we'll select this again just to show you the difference. If we do a high pass and then we up this roll off down to like 48, that'll give it a much it'll be much more effective in like getting rid of any of the audio below 1,000. See, there are basically everything under 300 has been completely eliminated, but there's still some high level stuff. So now if we play this, you'll still be able to hear me, but all my bass level voice will be gone, because everything basically below I don't know if that's like about 400 or so, 500 has been eliminated. But we also see that on this other clip over here is that we're only left with like the high pitch stuff, so you can eliminate some of that lower level stuff. So we'll go ahead and give this a listen. So now we have a very loud section. You see how that's like way louder than anything. So yeah, you can still hear me, but it's just a lot of my bass has been removed. And then we'll just play this clip right off of here, see what that sounds like. So yeah, whatever's making this noise is pretty high on the spectrum, between 1,000 and maybe 3,000, making all these noises. Alright, so another thing you can do if you want to hear the difference between these is I actually have multiple Audacities open right now. So I can go down, here's the original clip where I didn't do the low pass filter, and I'll play 5 seconds. You can kind of hear that low bass tone, whatever that is, like kind of like a breathy noise or whatever in there. And if we go back to this one, play 5. See, and that's basically what the high pass filter does. Then if we want to look at like the low pass filter, I want to just undo the high pass filter. Switch it back to spectrogram, and then we can do, instead of high pass, you do the low pass filter, and this will eliminate any of that high frequency stuff. Again, you can like up it all the way and see what that does. So that got it down pretty close to 1,000, but eliminated some of that stuff. But if we'll listen a little bit of myself talking, see what it looks like. So now we have a very loud section. You see how that's like way loud. So very bassy, changes the voice to be very bassy. We'll listen to this clip. Almost sounds like a jetliner or something, but I doubt a jetliner would show up like this on here. Anyways, that's my little show on how to do some of the spectrum analysis just using Audacity, which is a free program. I guess lastly, just to make sure anybody who's watching understands this, if you go in here and you do either of these, the high pass or the low pass, we'll do the low pass again. You look at this, like, let's see, because maybe you wanted to get the line down a little bit closer to maybe like 600. So if we do low pass again, you have to have something selected. So you highlight your section. Don't worry about this little mid section. I think there's a way to use it, but I don't ever use that. Go in here, low pass filter. So there's effects, low pass filter again. So this here is where you're aiming at, basically. So if we wanted to get that lower to cut out more of the high frequency sounds, let's say above 600, because you think you know what's causing whatever's above 600. Like maybe you sampled something and it makes that sound before. So if you just change this number here, and again keep up the effect, how strong it is, you can lower that down a little bit more until you feel satisfied, like, oh, maybe that's not good enough. You always just hit undo, gives you your original clip back, Then you go low pass. Let's say we wanted to get really low. Let's do 300. So that for sure got rid of about everything above 600. And so then you can listen to just the really bass sounds. I'll do my voice again. So that's very bassy, kind of like the Charlie Brown, like the adult voices. That's very quiet. So yeah, this might not be, you probably don't want to like lower it down that much, but just I just wanted to point out that you can change that to whatever you think is fit.